All right. So an article just dropped from The Guardian, and the headline caught my attention because Mick from Mick Talk Hoops posted it on Twitter. The article asks, why hasn't Middle America given Paige Bueckers the Caitlin Clark treatment? And let me tell you, once I saw that, I had to go read it for myself. The more I read, the more I just couldn't take it. I had to make a video on this because there's just so much race baiting going on in this piece that I couldn't ignore it. Before I dive into the article itself, I want to give you a little background on myself. I grew up in a biracial home. My parents were separated, but my dad's wife is black and my brother is half black. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about the Black American experience, but I do have personal connections that give me a perspective on racial dynamics. Interestingly, the article also mentions that Paige Bueckers grew up in a biracial household, which is something I can relate to. I've always been about bringing people together and appreciating the game of basketball for what it is. That's why I make so much content centered around Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, because I'm a fan of the game first and foremost. That said, the writer of this article has every right to their opinion, and I respect that. But I also have the right to call out the parts of their argument that just don't hold up. Now, this article was written by Etan Thomas, a former NBA player. At first, I thought it was written by someone else, a woman whose name was at the bottom of the article, who went to Harvard. I was about to go off on her, but then I realized it was actually Thomas, which made me take a step back and reassess. The title of the article is, Why Hasn't Middle America Given Paige Bueckers the Caitlin Clark Treatment? The premise is that Paige has embraced Black America rather than being pitted against it. And because of that, she hasn't been lionized like Caitlin Clark. Lionized? Wow. First off, let's be real. Caitlin Clark is a generational talent who has completely transformed the conversation around women's basketball. She's not just a great player. She's a walking highlight reel. She shattered NCAA records, and she brought an unprecedented level of attention to the sport. The idea that Middle America has some kind of racial bias in propping her up over Paige Bueckers is ridiculous. Caitlin Clark is getting the treatment she's getting because of what she's done on the court, period. Now, that's not to take anything away from Paige Bueckers. I love Paige's game. She's an elite facilitator, an incredible scorer, and the way she's bounced back from an ACL injury is nothing short of amazing. She's going to be a star in the WNBA, especially now that she's officially declared for the draft, which was just announced. But let's not pretend that she hasn't gotten love. She plays for UConn, one of the biggest brands in women's college basketball history. She's been a known name in the sport since high school, and she has a massive following. This whole Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers narrative is just another attempt to stir up unnecessary division. The reality is, both players can be celebrated for what they bring to the game. The real reason Caitlin Clark is getting all this attention isn't some deep-rooted racial preference from Middle America. It's because she's breaking records and changing the landscape of the sport in real time. That's it. So, to anyone pushing this race-based argument, just stop. Appreciate the game. Appreciate the players. Because women's basketball is growing, and it doesn't need this kind of manufactured drama to hold it back. Okay, the UConn Stars embrace Black America rather than being pitted against it. However, this has meant she has not been celebrated in the same way as a similarly brilliant player. The article goes on to list some of Paige Bueckers' awards and accomplishments, including Player of the Year honors, before touching on her injury history. That's all fair, but then it takes a questionable turn. It states that coming back from an ACL injury deserves a standing ovation, yet Bueckers doesn't receive the same widespread admiration from certain segments of white America as Caitlin Clark, a player of similar skill. First of all, not all Caitlin Clark fans are white. This is evident to anyone who engages with her supporters on social media. Many of them come from diverse backgrounds, and it's unfair to assume otherwise. It's dismissive and insulting to the black fans who admire Clark. The article further suggests that this disparity may be because, unlike Clark, Bueckers has always been outspoken on off-court issues. Notably, after winning the 2021 ESPY Award, she used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor black women.
As a white woman who leads a black-led sport and celebrated here, I want to show a light on black women They don't get the media coverage that they deserve. They've given so much to the sport and the community and society as a whole, and their value is undeniable. And in the WNBA, last season, the postseason awards, 80% of the winners were black, but they got half the coverage as the white athletes. So I think it's time for change. Sports media holds the key to storylines. Sports media and sponsors tell us who is valuable, and you have told the world that I matter today, and everyone who voted, thank you. But I think we should use this power together to also celebrate black women.
That's actually a great point. While it's commendable that PAIGE BUECKERS use her platform to honor black women, it's often overlooked that Caitlin Clark did something similar before entering the WNBA. When she appeared on Saturday Night Live, she took a moment to acknowledge the incredible black athletes who paved the way before her. This isn't about pitting one player against the other. It's about recognizing that both have used their platforms in meaningful ways. Reducing the conversation to a simplistic racial divide ignores the broader reality that Clark has shown respect and appreciation for those who came before her, just as BUECKERS has.
Hope you have a great first season.
Thanks. I'm sure it will be a big first step for me. But it's just one step for the WNBA. Thanks to all the great players like Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper, the great Dawn Staley, and my basketball hero, Maya Moore. These are the women that kicked down the door so I could walk inside. So I want to thank them tonight for laying the foundation.
While I cannot state the exact viewership numbers for the ESPYs, I can tell you that a whole bunch of people saw the Saturday Night Live commentary. Then he goes on to say that after the ESPY Awards, Black America cheered for PAIGE BUECKERS, but it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic that once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, wasn't singing her praises quite as much and still doesn't. Is this a coincidence? Or is it because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? Possibly. No, that is not what happened. What happened is that Caitlin Clark in her sophomore year, and really in her junior year, just started excelling and doing things that nobody had ever seen a female basketball player do. Nobody had consistently been shooting from the logo, making passes like hers. While I happen to think her assists are one of her greatest attributes, those aren't the things that are as flashy as deep logo threes. The kind of plays people want to see. It just so happens that people started noticing these things because nobody else was doing them so consistently, launching long-range bombs while also elevating a pretty average Iowa team and leading them to the championship. Not once but twice. She was an underdog story. And PAIGE BUECKERS, for as great as she is not an underdog. Okay, then he gets into the Angel Reese situation. Much of the media made Reese the villain to Clark's heroine, the black princess who upstaged the great white hope. Who said this stuff? An article published by something like The Guardian. Anyway, the viral image of Reese defiantly waving her hand in Clark's face, the same taunt Clark used in a previous game, does not provide full context. In a previous game against Haley Van Lith, Clark did wave her hand, but she wasn't waving it at a player. She was waving it at her strength coach. This is just what players do on the court. She wasn't chasing anybody around. Not that I find anything horrible about what Angel Reese did. This is on-court trash talk. For me, it's fine. It's part of the game. They've all been there. They all do it. Then, he goes on to state that this moment transformed Clark and Reese from two great players into lightning rods for racial animus. Skipping ahead a bit, people were there to cheer Clark's whiteness and attack Reese's blackness. I definitely think a lot of the backlash Angel Reese gets is unfair. Some of it is downright ridiculous. Just last night, she was at a game where her brother was playing in the Sweet 16 for Maryland. His team was losing, and naturally, she wasn't smiling. Then, a CBS reporter took to Twitter posting, "Angel Reese doesn't look happy." Like, really? What was she supposed to be doing? Grinning ear to ear while her brother's team was struggling in a huge game. This is the Sweet 16. Anyone with an ounce of common sense knows it's an intense, emotional moment. There's a time and a place for certain comments, and as a journalist for a credible outlet like CBS Sports, you should know better than to take cheap shots. You don't kick someone when they're down. But honestly, this feels less about sports and more about fueling a larger debate. Some people will twist anything to fit a narrative, and that's exactly what's happening here. Oh, guys, and this is good. Meanwhile, During Ramadan, Bueckers cooks breakfast for her Muslim teammate while singing gospel songs, the black versions, before games. She has a deep connection with her black teammates, truly resembling a sisterhood. She was raised by her black stepmother, has black stepbrothers and stepsisters, and has had black boyfriends. She has consistently designated herself as an ally to her black teammates, not just in her ESPY speech, but on multiple occasions. All of this simply does not sit well with a certain demographic that embrace Clark and champion her for the wrong reasons. That's not to say all of Clark's fans fall into this category, nor is it Clark's fault. She just wants to play basketball. Bueckers is a special player and deserves every ounce of praise and respect, both on and off the court. But if she ends up winning a championship and still doesn't receive the same level of praise given Clark, you will know why. I think people really underestimate how diverse Caitlin Clark's fan base actually is. As someone who engages with a lot of her supporters, I can tell you it's diverse. Yes, a large portion of her fans are white, but a lot of people in America are white. If you break down the country's demographics and compare the numbers proportionally, it's really not that surprising. That being said, I do not support any race baiting or negativity surrounding race, whether it's about Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, or any other player. I've seen the toxic discourse that exists, and it's unfortunate. The reason Clark gets so much attention isn't about race. It's because she's an anomaly. She's a generational talent, doing things we've never seen before. PAIGE Bueckers is also an incredible player, but her game is just different. She doesn't have the same jaw-dropping moments that redefine what people think is possible in women's basketball. I do admire Bueckers' media savvy. She doesn't engage in drama, and she genuinely seems like a kind, humble person. But it's frustrating to see Clark, Bueckers, and Reese constantly being weaponized by media outlets to drive clicks and fuel unnecessary debates. It's doing a disservice to all of them.
If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We know watching this video takes some of your time, and we appreciate you.